Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome back to the Southern Lighthouse again. So, we're going to build out over the water a bit today, which is fraught with a few problems, but turns out quite well, I think. So the first thing I was thinking on was where I was actually going to start in terms of an access point. Which was, my first thought was to build out from the beach somewhere, but I thought it's going to look a little insecure. So I thought we'll attach it to the rest of the build and go for the gap at the back here. So we'll group select this little shack bridge in, which is awkward to say the least. The hardest part's just getting to sit as close as I wanted it to. It doesn't really want to cooperate with the rocks under there. There we go, can work with that. Plywood boards coming in very, very handy again. And there we go, there is our blank canvas out there. So we'll get a little bit of a walkway out, and we're going to put some boats out. So, as I've said a couple of times, I was thinking sort of vaguely Libertalia-esque ideas behind this, so we're going to go with that. Sort of Libertalia light, really. The thing is, unfortunately, at the moment we've only got 3 boats available in USO. 3 complete ones anyway. There's a few bits and pieces, but they won't really work for this otherwise. So, as the game doesn't recognise water as a surface, not surprisingly I suppose, we're going to have to use Place Anywhere to get these boats where we want them, as basically we're positioning them in mid-air as far as the game's concerned. So I'm going to use Swapper. So it's a case of just attach the activator to the object you want to move the stick next to it, jump up and hit that blue thing so that it goes invisible, and then visible again. Same thing on the red one for the stick. And as you can see from the place indicator in the bottom of the screen there, it says we can place it, so we're good to go. It is rather fussy, it tends to jump around a bit, but it works, sort of. So we'll try and get this roughly where we want it, and make sure that the water isn't above the level of the deck. So it actually look like we're floating on it, rather than just sort of clipping through it. There we go. And that's the first one. Now I've got to rather carefully remove the activators. And oh look, it's disappeared. Great. So I'll make it come back, and we'll get rid of the thing. Eventually. Doing this in water is kind of a faff. There we go. We'll run back over. Bring back that red stick again. Try and remember where I put it. There we go. And we have our base in place. I did have a go at group selecting this, but I never really thought it would work anyway. You'd need a ridiculously long pole to group select with to reach the sort of ground under the water there, the seabed, I suppose. But unsurprisingly, Place Anywhere it is on this one. That little shack bridge, on the other hand, is very cooperative, so that just went straight in. Drop that on the top. Stairs are just sort of a temporary fix so it can run up and down without too much hassle. We'll tweak those in a moment. And on to boat number 2. So same procedure again. Tricks to place the activator light low enough that I can sort of get at it. So it's while coming around the back here. But it'll only go on a flat surface, or a fairly flat surface, so options are a little limited when you're using an object like this boat. So move the initiator there. Group select. Make it disappear. Come back again. Don't actually see what I'm doing. Same again over here. And I'll skip on because I had a bit of a brain fart with getting that to work. So we've got the place activated at the bottom there again. So we'll fiddle around with it, figure out where I want it to go. Which is a bit of a somewhere between trial and error and just sort of eyeballing it. Actually, surprisingly easy to do this once it's sort of lined up with the water. Unfortunately, the boats aren't quite the same size, which did cause a few issues, but we'll solve those on down the line. Get rid of our stick again. There we go. So I was going to use one of these piers, because there's actually a couple of them on the seabed underneath the boat there. But as it turns out, this shack bridge went straight in, no problem at all. Does the job quite nicely. It's scrappy as hell, but it works, so. Unfortunately, you can't really get a staircase near the end of it, so we're going to use the box here that's actually kind of in the way to form part of our little staircase. More pallets and plywood. And there we go. Simple as that. I'll stick another one on the top because we've got some serious clipping going on at the other end that needs to be hidden. So the hardest thing about this, apart from getting the boats in place in the first place, is that you're building on player-placed objects. And obviously that means you can't sync, you can't mess around with it so much, you can't group select anywhere near it. So you've got to kind of work around the fact that half the things I would normally do to make things work, I can't actually do. So this third one in place. I think there is actually one more boat available, but it's the same model, just without the rigging on it. So we're a bit limited in our selection here. Get that in place. So the other issue with them being slightly different sizes is getting them all to the same height, which I could have faffed with for ages, but I didn't. So we'll build a workaround on that, which kind of makes it more believable in some ways anyway. So we'll get these stairs into form a basis for our eventual walkway. So if things going to go crazy with snapping, we'll just work with it rather than try and work against it. Like that. There we go, got a nice little platform to build off. What I actually went on to do here is something I'm not quite happy with in the end, so I'll probably come back and change it later, but I'll show you it anyway. For the moment, we'll stick a few more boards down so we can see what we've got to work with. This is not going to be the finished product. We've got an idea of the lines we're working with there, know what we're aiming at. Daylight to see what I'm doing. Fortunately, the edge of the boat here is a little too high to build over without either major clipping like that or just not being able to get over it, so pallets coming in handy again. We'll do a improvised staircase to put the standard stair on top of. There we go. And now we can clear the edge there. There's a little bit of adjusting. Just need to line it up with the floor piece that's sticking over the end of the other boat there, which isn't quite right there. We'll pull that back out and adjust. Remember to take the stair off first because the stair snaps and therefore won't move with the piece it's sat on. So dismantle and reassemble job. There we go. Looks like the line's about right there. Use the warehouse pieces because they look nice and scrappy. And there we go. We have the basis of a bridge. Fortunately, this didn't want to play ball, so we'll jump over the other side and do that, which does work. Then we just need to plug the gap somehow. So back to the trusty plywood. Conveniently, because this one's got that cutaway edge, that actually kind of works with the angle. So we'll get a rug down and glitch it into place and it'll look nice and solid. So one thing, I might not be able to group select, but at least the rug glitch does still work when you're building off these things. There we go. Obviously these are floating a bit too much, so we need something to make them look considerably more supported, so these work fairly well. Not going to put any railings on because I like the kind of haphazard look of it. So you can see from the view through the water there that you can see the bottom of the pillars, so it doesn't look supported. I'm not going to go all the way to the ground here. I could, but it's just not really worth it. So once we get back up here, you can't see the bottom of them anymore and it looks fine. To be fair, if I didn't have water redux on, and the water would be cloudier and it wouldn't matter either, but as I do. Back over and we'll adjust these stairs again, because it's not very smooth to walk up and down it. To be fair, no matter what I do here, this will be a nightmare for settler pathing, but as we're using Workbench anywhere, it's going to be a nightmare to get settlers here anyway, so it's kind of academic, really. As long as I can walk up and down it, that's the main thing. There we go. Should actually work. Now we just need to support this little bit of plywood at the end of the bridge here. Which would have made sense to do at the time I actually put the plywood in. It's a bit behind us I'm referring to there, of course. But as I'm being creative and such like, I'm kind of all over the place. As per usual. There we go. It's just about the right height. Slightly awkward. Once you get a little further forward on this, sort of into that gap there, unfortunately you've got no room to put even the rugs down, so a long chain is required. It's clipping through the box a little bit there though, so we'll spin it round, put it back into place, and there we go. So, that's basically the bare bones of the structure. So, it's still a little basic, a little uninteresting, so I'm going to stick a little shack on the side here. Which, in hindsight, at the time I should have decorated it a bit more interestingly, but I didn't really know what I was going to do with it, but watching it back has given me a few good ideas, so I think my longer term plan will be to turn this into a kind of cafe type boat. So I put a little like cooking area in this shack here and some more seating out front, that sort of thing. But it's a temporary setup for now. Can adjust that later. Some walls in. Nice and easy. A few supports on the front. I'll have to come up with a way of supporting it at the back. Not that anybody's going to see it, but I know it's there, so something else to come back to. It's a bit temperamental, but it will do it. There we go. This one, however, won't do it. I tried, but not a hint of a snap there, so we'll come back to that in a moment. Stick a railing on. There we go. Now, I'm very not happy with what I've done here. I really don't like it at all. It looks awful, but when I come to adjust it in a bit, which I've sort of figured out how to do now, although I didn't at the time, it'll be the same basic principle, so I've decided to leave it in and you can see what I'm going to change later. So I wanted a way to get up to the cabin roof here. Obviously nothing quite fits, it's not the right height. And this gets there, but that pallet's floating far too much, so even though I tweaked it further on, I'm still not happy with the final product, so still the end result, if my new plan works, should be quite good. Fortunately this board won't go through the gap on its own, so we'll have to use the principles behind the rug glitch and do it this way. Yeah. Just stare a little bit more so it will match up more evenly. Ended up trying to put a second pallet down there and all sorts and fiddling with it for absolutely ages, but the end result was much less than satisfactory, so I'm going to come back and change it again later. But this is the general principle of it. So, back around the other side, we'll get some support for this corner of the shack that we've built. And that's basically the build. On to decoration after that. Relatively quick, easy and simple, once you've sort of figured out the ins and outs of it anyway. Not quite right, so we use a different one. The slope of the boat's a little awkward there, but we'll make it work. And I figure out I'm being daft and I've got the box in the wrong corner of the pallet. There we go. That underneath it a little further, and then you can't see the top edge clipping. It won't actually show that it's clipping through the floor, or rather it doesn't clip through the top of the floor, not the point. And we'll take a look around, now that I've decorated. So, boxes, barrels, general nautical stuff to decorate. These doors are actually from the subways, but they fit better than the bulkhead doors do, so I'll have a little medical station in here. We'll put a vendor mat down. And then the doctor can stand in there. Those doors, by the way, are just rug glitch straight in, nice and easy. Take your nosy around onto the boat. Left this one open. Again, I think I'll make this into more of a dining space in the future. I think I'll see if I adjust it again, but it still doesn't really look right. Sort of works, but yeah. Definitely room for improvement. Nice view over the rest of the little build there, though. It's quite cool. Come back down. I left out the staircase because one way or another I'm going to have to change it because it's awful. I can sort of hop up it, but it really doesn't work, so. Now I've got a little bit of living space for somebody there. make our way back around. Up and over. I thought this would be a good sort of fishing boat theme. Somebody who's sitting on the end of his boat, catching fish, preparing them and selling them from here. I did have the original idea of making it a sort of trading area on here, but access to it is a bit of a pain. And this thing still works, which is quite cool. It's fun. So there's a little living space in here. A little fishing point on there. Fortunately, the slopey ground means that the chair's floating, but we'll find a way of doing something about that. And back over we go. Yeah, it needs a little bit of fine-tuning, this. But, yeah, I'll have to get some planks under the end of those boards as well, I think. But on the whole, I'm quite happy with the way this looks. It's quite cool. So, I do hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching as always. If you did, I'm sure you know what to do by now. As always, social media links down in the description. And I will be speaking to you all very, very soon.